Seance, a tale of Ouija boards and of the night floaters. They say you should never mess around with a Ouija board. And they're right. Megan, Esther, Austin, Dave and I went to college together. We had heard about an abandoned haunted house just off the highway running through the former village of Palermo. Back in the 80s, a young couple from Jokeville named Donna and Frank had purchased the old farmhouse with the intention of restoring it, only to be forced to abandon it because of ghosts or something. We thought it would be fun to sneak in and see if we could contact the spirits, which is why we were sprawled on the dusty hardwood floor in the former living room, surrounded by lighted candles which hardly pierced the encompassing darkness. It was just before midnight on Saturday night, and Megan, who was taking this very seriously, was giving everyone their instructions. We'll all put our fingers on the planchette, which is this disc-shaped thing. We know how it works, eh? Dave complained. Everybody knows how it works. He was intentionally needling her, and it was starting to get on my nerves. Let's just do it, Austin said, taking charge as usual. We gathered around and put our fingertips on the planchette, all except Esther, who seemed genuinely scared. You okay? I asked. I'm fine, she snapped. But she didn't sound fine. Our first question, naturally, was to ask if there were any spirits present. The planchette slowly moved to yes. You're pushing it, Dave said to Megan, whose reply was a shrill, I am not. Shh, I hissed. Ask if it's a good spirit, said Austin, once again taking charge. Esther looked like she was about to pee her pants, but I knew better than to ask again if she was okay. Instead, I heard her gasp when the planchette moved over to no. A bad spirit. Figures. Unless it was a good spirit, which was merely annoyed with Dave and wanted us to leave. But we didn't have a chance to ask any more questions, as the pointer began moving of its own volition, with no one touching it. And, for once, even Dave was speechless. The planchette began spelling out D-A-N-G-E-R, danger. From what? Austin demanded, without thinking he was trying to question a spirit. Or a demon. The planchette wasn't finished. F-L-E-E, flee. I think maybe we should go, Megan said, stating the obvious, but Esther was already heading for the exit. So I followed. We had found the back door closed, but unlocked, so we figured we weren't really breaking and entering when we went inside the house. But when Esther pulled the door open to leave, she jumped back screaming, slamming it shut. What's wrong? I yelled, racing up to her. Esther was crying and hyperventilating and seemed incapable of coherent speech. What's wrong with her now? Dave snapped. God, that guy was an asshole. There was a head in the air, floating in the air. Austin stepped forward to pull open the door, but I stopped him with, Wait! He gave me a dirty look as I came up to him and said, Don't forget about the night floaters. Dave whirled towards me and said, Night floaters? God, nobody believes that bullshit. Megan said, Maybe we should find out. We never did find out what Megan thought we should find out. As Dave threw open the door, and a head floated into the hallway. It was a classic night floater, a thin, ugly face with glowing red eyes, greasy black hair, and teeth, a mouthful of the biggest yellowy teeth I had ever seen in a human or an inhuman mouth. Yellow teeth which clamped firmly on the end of Dave's rather prominent nose. Dave crashed to the floor screaming, "Pull it off! Pull it off!" Austin reached down, trying to grab the head by its greasy locks, while the girls took off into the house with me on their heels. No, other way. Go the other way. Go outside," I bellowed. I was stopped when Megan barreled into me screaming, "They're inside the house too! They're inside the house! Where's Esther?" I don't know. I tried to push past her, but in her panic, Megan kept blocking the way. So I turned on my heel and sprinted outside, while Dave, still screaming, and Austin fought with the floater. I breathed a sigh of relief the instant I stepped outside. Then Megan yelled, "Look out!" Out of nowhere, another floater, this time an ugly female, swooped down at my head, and I could only save myself by hitting the dirt. But she kept dive-bombing me, forcing me to twist and turn, until Megan swatted it with a tree branch, and it took off after her. I had just staggered to my feet when I heard Megan cry, "It's got my hair! It's got my hair!" Yikes! Megan had very long hair, of which she was extremely proud. And at that same moment, the entire front lawn was illuminated by headlights. An old pickup truck had pulled up in front of the house, and an old guy swinging a baseball bat came charging across the yard, screaming a rebel yell, mixed with some very colorful profanity. The head immediately released Megan's hair, and she fell to the ground, bursting into tears. The head quickly flew away, making a moaning sound as it moved through the air. The old man proceeded to get in our faces. "What do you goddamn fools think you're playing at?" "We've been attacked," I said. "Yeah, obvious, I know. We've got some friends that need help," I told him, running back towards the house. Austin came pelting out the open doorway, bawling, "Help us! Help us!" I was shocked to see the cocky, self-assured Austin losing his cool. I heard a strange mewing sound and suddenly realized it was coming from Dave, crawling along the ground with the head of the floater still clamped on his nose. The old man ran forward, raised the baseball bat above his head, and hollered, "Off!" The head disengaged immediately and flew off faster than I thought possible. The old man took a wild swing at it, but he didn't even come close. He then reached down and pulled Dave up by the collar and began to frog march him towards the pickup truck. "My nose! Oh, my nose!" "Shut up!" We followed, uncertain what was happening. The old man stopped, opened the door to his truck, and took something out. And the next thing we heard was Dave shrieking, louder than before, in agony. Austin went up to the old man and demanded, "What's going on here?" The old man looked at him with contempt and held out a small plastic bottle. "Iodine, bub. The bite of a floater is poisonous. Worse than rabies." "If that's what those things were," Austin muttered. "If?" Dave didn't believe in them either. "I bet he does now," I said. "Fuck yeah," Dave yelped. "What the hell were you fools doing in that house?" the old man asked, and shook his head in anger as we told him about the seance and the Ouija board. "Asking for trouble. Just asking for trouble. A Ouija board, Jesus. I knew the folks who owned this place, Donna and Frank. I was a friend of Donna's old man. This house isn't very far from the Valley of the 16. Lions Valley Park, eh? Well, down in the valley, there was this village, Proudfoot's Hollow, which was a nest of night floaters, beings able to detach their heads from their bodies, to fly through the night and attack people. The night floaters were probably the reason the village was eventually abandoned. So this is their patch, and they don't like intruders, especially idiots with Ouija boards. I thought Austin was going to say something, but he kept his mouth shut. I guess he figured discretion was the better part of valor. Megan broke in. Have you seen Esther? I can't find her anywhere. There was nothing for it but to re-enter the house and search for our missing girl. And I was the lucky one who found her when I heard whimpering coming from an upstairs closet. I opened the door and she was suddenly in my arms, squeezing me tightly, ever so tightly, and crying, "Oh, Jay, Jay, I was so frightened, so frightened. They were banging on the door with their heads, banging on the door and calling my name, calling my name." "It's okay now," I crooned. "It's okay. I've got you in my arms, and nothing's ever going to hurt you again." And so a night of terror ended in a dream come true for me. Esther, the girl of my fondest imaginings, in my arms and holding me tight, pressing her body up against mine, pressing, pressing, pressing. And that's when I became aware that in her sheer terror, Esther had peed her pants. Peed her pants. A lot. Oh, well. They say the path, or should that be the stream of love, doesn't always flow smoothly. WSJ here. Hope that trick ending didn't piss you off. It was so romantic, or should I say aromantic, I couldn't resist. I've started a podcast called The Night Floaters, a warning to the curious. How's that for a surprise? I've left a link to it in the description, or you can search Night Floaters in Spotify. I started the podcast in part because YouTube has made some policy changes which may affect this channel, but I'll keep you into the loop as to what is going on. But in the meantime, stay hungry.